step in installing your weave is braiding down your hair. Now this can be hard, especially if you don't know how to braid, but you can still do your own sew-in without knowing how to braid. All you have to do is get someone else who can braid to braid down your hair for you. All you do is show them your braiding pattern that you will need and let them braid it for you. And they shouldn't charge you more than $20 or $30 to do this. So either you can go to someone else to braid your hair for you if you can't braid, but if you can braid, then you can go ahead and braid your hair yourself. So if you're braiding your hair yourself, the first thing that you will need to do is section off your leave out. So whenever I section out my leave out, I part my hair where I want it to be, and then I take like an inch from both sides, just enough that I will know to cover the tracks, and make that my leave out. Now since I have done many weaves before, I know just about how much I need to cover up my tracks. But if it's your first time, then you can get a track and put it right on top of your hair and then put your hair over it just to see and make sure that the hair that you want to leave out will be enough to cover the track. Depending on how you want to do your sew-in, you can either only leave out here where you're going to have your part, or you can leave out here where you're going to have your part and around the perimeter or around the front. Usually I just leave out here around where I'm going to have my part, but this time I decided to leave out here where I'm going to have my part and around just the front of my hair. So when the wind blows, it can blow back freely, and then I can put it up and like half up, half down style, and just have a little bit more variety with my hair. So once you've sectioned out your leave out, the next thing that you'll need to do is start braiding your hair. So what I do when I braid my hair is I start from my leave out and I just braid down into the middle. So I do one braid like that, one braid like that, one braid, all the way until I get to the back. And as I finish each braid, I just use a small goody rubber band to close off the braid. So in my opinion, the braid down is the hardest part of the weave because braiding is what takes the most skill. But the way I learned how to braid, and the way I would tell anyone to learn how to braid, is to either practice on their own hair a lot or to go out and buy one of these hair practicing mannequins. I got mine from Sally's, and whenever I was just watching TV or movies or anything like that at home, I would just have this in my lap and I'd practice braiding on it. And over time you just get better and better, and eventually you can braid your own hair with practice. This is the completed braiding pattern, and after I finish braiding it, I'm just oiling my scalp because it's important that you oil your scalp to keep it moisturized. And so now what I'm doing is I'm taking the excess braids and I'm tucking them in to wherever there's extra space in my hair. And by tucking the excess braids into the gaps in between the braids that you already have, your hair will lay extremely flat. So instead of sewing the braids together, I'm just bobby pinning them down, and whenever I sew the hair onto the braids, I just grab all of the braids with it so that the takedown will be a little bit easier and I don't have to worry as much about having to unsew the braids and potentially cutting my own hair. So now I'm just grabbing my hair, and so I'm looking at where I want to start, and I'm placing a bobby pin there just to hold it up and make it easier for me, and I'm going around to where I want it to end and putting another bobby pin there to hold it up. And so then I'm just threading the needle and tying off the end and cutting off the thread. So the way I start sewing is after I've placed the weft against the braid, like so, I get the needle and I sew it under the braid, but I don't go through the actual weft. And I go under the braid like so, and then before I pull it all the way through, I open up the thread like that, and I go through the thread. And that's what will cause it to knot like that. And then your weft isn't going anywhere when you do that. And I usually start a little bit, not at the beginning of the braid, just so I can have a more secure base to sew on. And then I go back and I do the same thing. But now instead of opening the thread to loop it through, you just loop it through like normal. Like that. And that isn't going anywhere. So then you continue to go along the braid, going under the braid and looping the thread around the needle and tightening it. And you just continue going along the hair. So right now I'm showing you how I do it when I try and grab multiple braids into the loop. I just go under all of the braids as I do it, and I just do it like normal. And this makes takedown easier, like I said before, because as you take out the thread that is binding the wefts to the braids, you're also taking out the threads that are binding the braids to each other. So once I get to the end, I just loop it multiple times and I cut off the excess, and then I tie it twice and cut off the excess. So now this is why we put the thread under the braids as we sew, because whenever you flip it back like I'm showing right here, you won't be able to see the braids. So then you just continue sewing, and instead of cutting the tracks, which you're not supposed to do because it promotes shedding, I'm just flipping over the weft and I just continue sewing like normal after I flipped it over. And again, I'm just bobby pinning it at the end of the row that I'm going to braid onto, because it makes it easier to just loop the thread all the way down and not have to worry about holding the weft up as I'm going. And again, I'm just going through all of the braids that I can feel with my hands and getting them all in the thread. And once I get to the end of the row, I just fold the track over again. And and continue going up the row till I reach the end and flip it over. So you're basically just repeating the same process over and over, back and forth and back and forth. So now I'm finished with my first bundle here, and I'm grabbing my second, and I'm just starting it the same way I started the first one, bobby pinning it in place to make it easier to sew. Then I just looped it around a few extra times than normal since this was the beginning of a new bundle. Then I continue to flip it back, but instead of going all the way to the end of my each row, I stopped early just so I could fill in the middle. And then once the middle was filled in pretty well, I started going higher and higher. And I have those bobby pins there because as I go, sometimes you notice that there are a few lumps in your hair, and if you notice that early, it's just good to go ahead and bobby pin them down so at the end of your installation everything will lay flat. Because I find that no matter what you do, sometimes those lumps in your hair are kind of inevitable, so just bobby pin them down when you see them and they'll go away. So now I'm getting closer to the top of my hair, and I keep on going just as I've done before, going back and forth around. Going all the way to the end of the row and then flipping it back. And as you can see right now, we're getting really close to my leave out, and you want it to be very close so it'll be easy to cover up the tracks. So you just sew onto the hair that is available. And then once you've reached the end, you just cut off whatever is left and finish it off like so. And that's it. So and then you just take out your leave out and blend it into the hair like so. And as you can see, this hair blends so well with my own hair. This is the Rosa Queen Hair Products Brazilian Kinky Straight here, and I'll have the information down in the description box below. And yeah, this hair blends with my hair so well. I'm really liking this hair, and the installation, the way this braid pattern works, I've tried multiple braid patterns and I found that this is the best, and especially once you tuck in your excess braids into the little gaps, you're gonna have really flat hair. Everything lays completely flat, and because I left hair out in the front, I can do different things with it. I can like do half up, half down. When my hair blows in the wind, don't have to worry. I can just do anything with it, and I really like how it turned out. So installing your own weave may seem hard to do at first, but you do get better with practice, and so just try it out for yourselves, and I really hope that this video helped you, and yeah.